evening and welcome. On behalf of Students for Justice in Palestine, I would like to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We also want to thank Benajmin for not only walking to Palestine during all of this plethora of human rights violations, but for joining us here to tell us his experience. Before I welcome you to the stage, you are giving note cards as you sign in. You can write your questions, and during the intermission, we will be taking those questions. And now, please give a round of applause to Benajmin.
Hi everyone. Thank you so much for taking some of your valuable time to come out here tonight. I recently finished walking from Sweden to Palestine. It took quite some time. 11 months to be exact. I started last year, the 5th of August, and I finished this July, the 5th. It was to the day. I didn't expect that. It was just a coincidence. And on my way home, a lot of things happened. I will tell you about it. But when I came back to Sweden, on the bus from the airport, I was thinking about what I should do next as my next project. I decided that I should come to the United States to talk about Palestine, talk about what I did, because Palestine is a very important topic. It's a very serious issue, and I will share with you why, and some stories from the road, of course. And maybe some of you will be wondering why I will be walking to Palestine in the first place, so I'll tell you that as well. Now this is Ladraa. It's a refugee camp. I visited 10 different refugee camps when I was in Lebanon. And this is the only Christian refugee camp in the world, they told me. It's called Ladraa. You can see the kids playing out in the bombed out schoolyard. This is the same refugee camp seen from above. There's a high picture on the side. And I'm very happy that we have a big screen with a large picture, because sometimes when I show this picture, people can't really see the details. If you look closely, like on the rooftops, you can see some items on them. That's because they aren't really roofs, they are just these corrugated steel things put as a roof. Because in Lebanon, Palestinians aren't allowed to own property as refugees. So to avoid that legal definition as a house, they don't even have a roof, they just have that going down with stones and tires. So when it's windy, it blows away, it leaks. In the winter, it's not nice at all. And you can see in the background, I thought this was like the contrast is very telling. I mean, the camps are very poor, the conditions are poor, but right outside the camp you have a big swimming pool. That's what it looks like inside when you walk around. The infrastructure is horrible. You see electrical wires everywhere. Sometimes they're right next to the water pipes also. Electricity and water, which leads to very bad incidents, especially for kids playing around. So it was very intense walking around in these camps and talking to other people. And the reason these camps exist in the first place, so let me first take a temperature. How many of you are very familiar with Palestine since before? You know the story, you've been talking about this a lot. So that's pretty much the whole. So the reason there are refugee camps is because of what happened 70 years ago, what Palestinians called the Nakba, the catastrophe. 75% of Palestinians were ethnically cleansed from their land by the Israeli forces. Driven out from their homes, became refugees. Today, Palestinians are the largest refugee group in the world. There are 7 million refugees, Palestinians, around the world. So now I was walking, I met Palestinians in every country. The reason they are there, in Europe and everywhere here, is because of what happened 70 years ago. So I called my project Walk with Palestine, because I'm not a creative guy. And this is it, Turkey. So I started walking with a very heavy backpack. It was around 25 kilos. We don't use kilos, so that's very heavy. Eventually someone wrote to me on Facebook because I was kind of complaining, this is very heavy, it's so tough, like how am I going to do this? Not really how, I was just focused. Take one step at a time, we will make it, but my feet were hurting. It was very difficult. And someone wrote to me, why don't you use some wheels? Just take your stuff and put it on some wheels somehow. So I got a baby stroller, I got that, took off my backpack, put it on there, put the Palestinian flag, push that, almost 5,000 kilometers. Not that one the entire way though, because baby strollers, they aren't really built for walking. They are, but not a long way. So the first one broke, I got a second one, also broke, that's number 4. And it made it to Lebanon, where I left it in Beirut. So this is the route I was taking. You might notice that the country names seem strange to you, and I don't understand why we rename countries in different languages. It never made sense to me. But we do, so this is Swedish, this is the Swedish Google Maps. I started in Gothenburg. It's not called Gothenburg. What do you say that? It's called Göteborg. That's the Swedish name for the Swedish city. Göteborg, not Gothenburg. And Sweden is called Sverige in Swedish. I think this is strange. When I came to Turkey, they were saying, "Oh, you're from Island." I'm like, "What is that?" They're like, "That's Sweden." It took me a while before I figured that out. They were saying Island all the time. I'm like, "What are they talking about?" So I went to Germany first, and then Czech Republic, and then Slovakia, Austria, Slovenia, Croatia, Serbia, Bulgaria, a little bit in Greece, Turkey. In Turkey, I had a dilemma, because I wanted to walk the entire way, and I pretty much almost did. But when I was about there, and wondering how I was going to walk here, as you can see, Syria is here, Iraq is here, and water is here. In Lebanon, there is no border crossing to Palestine. The border is shut, no one crosses that. It's very militarized. So I called my Syrian friends in Sweden. I have some friends from Syria saying, like, "Is there any way we can walk just this tiny bit?" Because I know there wasn't too much fighting here to Lebanon. And they told me, "Bro, are you crazy? Do you want to die? Do you know what they do in Syria?" Like, "Not really. That's why I'm calling you." They're like, "Don't do it." So I took their advice. Obviously, the Syrians know more about Syria than me. And when I was in Bulgaria, I met a soldier from Iraq that had just came from the war. He was fighting ISIS. And he told me that I don't know if this is true anymore, but at the time, there's a city here somewhere called Ladraa. And he said that there's some ISIS fighters there still. As you can see, there's like one road from Iraq into Jordan to Palestine. And this is desert. I didn't want to go in the desert. So I wound up taking a boat from southern Turkey to Lebanon, then walking to the border. I got run over on that time, just outside the room parking, ran me over. Yeah, I went to the hospital, did x-rays. The first thing the ambulance personnel asked me was like, "Do you have money?" Like, I'm in pain. The car that hit me from behind, I flew in the air, I heard someone scream, I realized it's me screaming, start screaming. People were everywhere, like, talking to me in Arabic. I don't speak Arabic. I know one word, like Salim Ahmad means ambulance. I was saying that. Ambulance came, took me to the hospital after I said, "Yeah, I can't join a few months. Let's just go and take the money thing later." They're like, $100. I'm like, "That's fine, let's go." We came to the hospital, did x-rays. They said, "Nothing's broken. You have like a contusion." Still not really sure what that means. I think it's, you know what it means. English is my second language. So I was just having a lot of pain. I asked them if I could continue walking. They're like, "Yeah, but you should rest." I'm like, "Okay, but I can't continue walking." But yes. So I took all my stuff. Went from the emergency room. Just continued. I made it for a few hours before my body like gave up from exhaustion. And I had to take it. So, to answer the question why I decided to walk to Palestine, I need to take you to Palestine first. Because I had visited prior to my walking. I was there last year in April. How many of you know where this is? How many of you know what's going on in Hebron? So this is Hebron. And it's the craziest place I've been to in my life. And I've been to a lot of places now. Still the craziest. I don't think there's a crazier place in the world, to be honest. So you've all heard about the settlements in Palestine. And this city has a settlement in the middle of the city, which is a very strange thing. So the entire city center is now an Israeli settlement, but it's still a Palestinian city. There's around 200,000 Palestinians living in the city. So they put up these checkpoints and walls and gates and fences and soldiers protecting them 24/7 around the city center. And now there's around 800 settlers living with the Palestinians. They're not really living with them. They're kind of harassing them quite a lot. I could go inside this gate because I'm Swedish and I have a Swedish passport. But my friends that were with me that showed me up to this gate, these guys sitting there, they had to wait outside. Because they're Palestinian, so they couldn't enter parts of the city. And this was a really crazy experience. So the first thing I saw was this graffiti by Ghost Town and Open Shahada Street. So what's that about? I was with a friend that knew a lot about this place. So she explained to me when we came to the street that this is the Shahada Street. It used to be the main market street in the city. Now it's completely desolate, hence Ghost Town. All these doors that you see are shops, or they used to be shops and stores. And you can see the balconies and windows that all have bars and almost cages around them. So all these shops have been forcibly closed by the Israeli forces. They have welded them shut. Sometimes with the Palestinians still inside the building, so they had to escape from the windows. Lots of Palestinians have their apartments on the second floor, so now they can't use the front doors at all anymore. And when they want to go in and out of their home, they have to go on both the roof, use ladders, acrobatics. But imagine old people, disabled people, sick people, they can't do that. So there's some old people stuck in their homes since this happened. And I continued to walk in Hebron. I found this street. My friend took all these pictures I was taking. I was with a Swedish friend at the time. So this fence divides the entire street in half, segregating it with Jews on one side and Palestinians on the other side, or Israelis I should say, and Palestinians, Jews and Arabs. But there are Palestinian Jews, so that gets confusing. Continued walking, I came to this house. It had just been broken into a few weeks before I was there. The settlers had broken into this place, took all the furniture, carried it outside to this little yard, put everything in a big pile, poured the gasoline on it, and just torched everything in the building. So when the Palestinian family came home, they weren't there, they just found a broken door and no things anymore. Today it's probably an Israeli settler family living there. And the Palestinians that are still in the occupied city center, because they haven't kicked everybody out, although they are on a daily basis harassing them and taking over their homes. If you read Palestinian news, it's absurd. You will read, today this family was thrown out of their house, the settlers came inside, refused to leave, confrontation arose, and the soldiers came. And the Israeli soldiers that are present, they are there to protect the settlers, even when the settlers are initiating the aggression. So when confrontation breaks out, their only job is to make sure the settlers are safe. And the Palestinians, they don't really have anyone to protect them, so they put up these cages and bars outside their windows to protect themselves because the settlers are throwing stones and other things inside their homes. And there's roughly 2,000 soldiers in this occupied city center. That's the Israeli explanation why they closed the stores, closed by the idea for security reasons. And security reasons gets thrown around quite a lot in this, when we're talking about Palestine and Israel. So, we all know that Gaza is under a military blockade since over a decade, but nothing gets in around without Israeli permission. And at one point, diapers, potato chips, and chocolate were forbidden from entering Gaza. You can imagine that. Of course, the explanation is security reasons. So this experience for me was quite overwhelming. I mean, going there, seeing all of this, every single person you meet on the street has crazy stories. They tell you about how they have been arrested, or someone they know have been arrested, or the child has been arrested, or how they have been assaulted, how they have been shot at, how they have had tear gas shot inside classrooms while the kids were studying, all the kind of crazy stories you can imagine. And it gets very real when you're there. I mean, now we're just talking about it. But when you're there and seeing everything and hearing the people living through this every day, it's very overwhelming. So I get back home after all of this. This is Gothenburg, this is where I live in Sweden. It's a very nice place, beautiful place. But after having gone through all that, I was in Palestine for around 3 weeks. I was just destroyed emotionally. I was overwhelmed. I came home and I sit down at my kitchen table and I'm so overwhelmed. I don't know what to do. I just start crying. I just want to do something, but I don't know what I can do. And I'm just me. I'm just Benjamin. I'm a guy from Sweden. What can I do? This is so overwhelming. There's so much injustice. So I figured I will continue to learn more about this. It's not like I didn't know before I went there. I heard many stories about Palestine from Palestinians. I read a lot, but I figured I need to deepen my knowledge, learn more. So I will show you something. Because it is important that we know what we talk about, especially this topic. So I read through 300 Israeli soldiers' testimonies in this book. It's called Breaking the Silence. Do you know Breaking the Silence? Since before, this is the first time you hear about it? So Breaking the Silence is an organization by Israeli soldiers who speak out, who have a heavy conscience about what they have done, and so they are talking about what they have been doing. This book contains 300 testimonies. It's just one book out of many. And I thought I'd give you a sense of what they're like. So I will just read a short bit of testimony number 30, saying that we only killed 4 children. So it's a soldier being interviewed by another soldier. The guy being interviewed, well, I guess it's a guy. Good German. In Nablus, 2003, and he says that we were based at the regional brigade and we go into the city each time for ambushes. Interviewer asks, when you say each time, you mean something like 4 or 5 times a week arrests, stroll with those diversion tactics. And how many X's did your company have? Yes. 11 armed, I think, and something like 4 or 5 kids. 4 or 5 kids. At some point, they told us that since we'd only taken down 4 kids, they were going to give our company missions because we were known for not hitting civilians. Now, who told you that? The company commander said it was the brigade commander. We were given certain jobs because we knew how to be selective and we didn't harm innocent people. And these were only 4 children. Only 4 children. That's just one part, one testimony. There's over 300. 3 others reads like this is a headline. But how can you post so many curfews and expect people to live? Or patrol to beat up Arabs? Or we go into the homes of innocent people every day, all the time. And this is something you notice if you go to Palestine. These are the stories people are sharing with you. Soldiers coming in the middle of the night, knocking hard on your door. If you don't answer it, they will kick it in. Sometimes they take over your entire house and use it as a temporary military base to maybe shoot people from the windows. Sometimes they arrest someone from your family. And sometimes they just humiliate you before they leave again. Every day, all the time. And when I was walking, I was meeting many people also as well. Palestinians are in every country. So when I'm in Istanbul, I meet this family. This is a family of Mohammed al-Hadid. How many of you know the story of Mohammed al-Hadid? It's not many. I never meet an audience that has many hands listening to that question. People don't know their story, and it's so tragic. I'm at the lack for words. I will tell you what they told me and their story. So their son, Mohammed, is 15. He's on his way back home from school when the settlers come. And they beat him up. And they take him in their car and they drive him to the forest, where they continue to assault him and beat him up. And eventually they pour gasoline down his throat and lit him on fire from the inside. And I'm meeting his parents in Istanbul, and what do you say? What do you say to his family, to his mom and dad? I was obviously at the back for words. We were at the Peace Awards ceremony. They're traveling the world, also trying to raise awareness about what's happening in Palestine, about this horrible violence being inflicted upon the Palestinian people. I meet Ahmed. He's an old man now, and he tells me his life story. When he was 8 years old, in 1948, when the ethnic cleansing took place, and the soldiers come to his village, the Zionist soldiers or Israeli soldiers, they surround this entire village and tell them if they don't believe, they will starve them out and basically kill everyone. So he leaves with his family when he's 8. He makes it to Nablus, the same place where the soldier being interviewed with the kids were giving his testimony. And he lives there until he's for around 20 years. So when he's around 28, the soldiers come again in 1967. For those of you who know your history, that's the 6-Day War when Israel occupies the rest of Palestine. So the soldiers are once again coming towards Nablus, and he has to get out and flee to survive. So he flees to the border with Jordan. He winds up in a refugee camp there with all the people fleeing. A few years pass, and once again, the Israeli soldiers are coming with fighter jets. They are bombing the refugee camp, so he has to flee. So he flees to, I don't know which number refugee camp this is at this point in his life. And that's where I meet him now. And I met him this year in summer. So he's an old man now. And he's still holding on to that piece of paper. That's the deed to his land, to his village outside of Jaffa, which he has brought with him since he was an 8-year-old boy. And I asked him about, obviously, his life and everything, and he told me that he only has one wish in life. His one wish is to go back to his village so he can die on his land. He said, I'm old man now, I have nothing left. I just want to go back so I can die on my land and not on this foreign land. Of course, nobody knows this man and all the other Palestinian refugees who have tragic stories living as refugees for 70 years. It's not like you see them on the news sharing their stories because the media is not there asking questions. So I'm carrying all this with me, all the experience from Palestine, and eventually I figure out what I can do. At least I can share some of the stories that I know of all the people that I've met. And I was thinking for some time how to reach a lot of people. I can't just call, CNN and BBC and say, hey, I know some stuff about Palestine. If you want to talk about that, that'd be cool. They wouldn't really come to me. And I can't really call a university and say, I know some stuff about Palestine. I'm this 25-year-old guy from Sweden. Can I come and speak to you? People wouldn't really invite me. I need to do something difficult just so someone would listen. Because it's difficult to get people to listen in this media landscape, with social media and mainstream media, everyone's competing for your attention. So I figured if I walk to Palestine, by the virtue of that being very difficult, maybe I can get some ears to listen to these stories, so the story of Palestine can be shared further, because I believe it's very important that we know what's going on. And it was very difficult. This was my peak after a few days of walking. It was very difficult. I didn't really train for this. Didn't really know how to. I was thinking, if the only way to train for walking is by walking, right? And the only way to train for walking a long way is by walking a long way. But if you're walking a long way, you already do it. And so I really didn't train, I just figured that. If I'm already walking a long way, then I will be on a journey. But that's how I want that after a few days. I would sleep outside many nights in my tent. Wake up with snails in my shoes and whatnot. In Germany, it was raining like crazy. I experienced probably every kind of weather on this trip. So after 2 weeks of rain, everything is soaked. Your tent is soaked. You really don't want to spend another night in it. Because when you sleep in a wet tent, your sleeping bag is a bit moist. It's not comfortable going to sleep when you wake up, and you're still not comfortable. It's not comfortable. You walk 10 hours in the rain, not comfortable. So I find this bridge something comfortable. At least it's dry. It's something like that. I figured there were these fences or something lying around. So I built like a little thing for myself, just pretending that it would make any difference. It's all around. One night I'm in Turkey, and I find this abandoned looking house. And you never really know if the house is abandoned. You just see a house that was kind of worn down. And I was very tired. I really didn't want to sleep outside again. So I go to this house, I sort of like, what do? You stand outside the door? You knock, or you just try to open it? Like, no option is really good. I went for the sneaky, I tried to open it. Okay, it's open. You go inside, you make a noise or not. Because if you're sneaking about and someone's there, you're scared, you shoot them. But at the same time, you sort of know that, hello. I was sort of sneaking around and hoping I would find someone. After I searched the house, there's no one there. And I figured, yeah, I might as well spend the night here. They had an abandoned garage, big car, but most nights would be here with the tent. It was a really bad tent. I'm not really an nature guy, so the first time I set up a tent by myself was in the store where you buy tents in Sweden. I asked the store guy, like, I need a tent. I walk a long way, spend many nights outdoors. So I need something that, will last me a long way. Can you give me something like that? He's like, yeah, it's a good tent. Okay. And I had him show me how he set it up. It's not supposed to look like that. I'm sleeping, in the middle of the night I hear this crack. I wake up and I what's that? I don't know, so I go back to sleep. In the morning, I notice that the tent is kind of looking funky. I go outside and say, oh, that's what the sign was. And sometimes it will be raining a lot, you wake up in the field, in the mud, with that. And the same night we hear another crack. This time you know what it is. It's that again. And it's not easy to find new tent sticks on the road when you're by yourself. I mean, it breaks like this. I'm in the woods somewhere, and this is the Czech Republic, I think. Alright, there's no tent store. I'm back in the woods. I just pack it up and hope that. I just didn't use it, I just had like half the tent and going like this. Really difficult to replace them. After the fourth time it happens, I'm like, I'm giving up. But then I'm in Austria, and I meet this really cool guy. He's like 54 or something. And he has walked a lot in his life as well. He walked from Austria to Oman. You know where Oman is? It's beneath Saudi Arabia. You know where Austria is? It's in Europe. That's a long way. I'm like, what? Why? He was like, yeah, I'll just quit my job because it's too stressful. Makes sense. I quit my job also. I was studying global studies and working at the Red Cross at the time, but quit all that and working. And he I have a lot of friends. He told me so. I'll just give you. So he gave me one, really good. Didn't give me another paper job as well. These things keep breaking. The wheels fall off. It's not supposed to be like that. And then the winter comes and I still gotta walk. Didn't really know how to protect all my stuff. I tried with this umbrella, but I don't know if that was successful or not. These are just different colors on the wheels because the wheels fall off like a brain. This one night, I'm in Bulgaria, and there's this tiny village, and I see on Google Maps, so I think, yeah, that's fine, I'll go to one. I go to the first one, and I knock on the door, there's no one there. I find the number, because I buy a new SIM card every time it's have something to them. I call them, then I get very good at it. Okay. So I walk to the next one, and I make a call in advance. I was like, where? Call them first. This is one of the lessons from the journey. Call them before you go there. I Google on the way, they say we're fully good. Come on. We're in Bulgaria. Why are you fully good? This is a tiny place. I mean, it's the middle of the night, so weekday. What? And they said, yes, this national holiday, sports event, thinking something. Okay? But maybe you have like 2 square meters somewhere in your facilities that I can stay at. You know, like, no, sorry, we can't help you. Like, maybe you have a couch, or like you stay under someone's bed, or whatever, because I really need some places to sleep. Like, no, sorry, we can't help you. Like, it's not you can't help me, because you want them. Call your mothers, call someone else, they help me. I didn't say that in this way. I said, okay, thank you. And I want that here. In this stuff. It's not so nice, but I figure it's an adventure. So I'm sleeping, I'm taking out all the clothes from my backpack, putting them inside the sleeping bag. Because I also think to myself that people freeze in their sleep, now and sleep in the snow, it's not a good idea, but I'll make it fine. So I try to close it up as much as possible, and all because I fit the sleeping bag really tight, so it's always only that small hole. I try to go to sleep. It's a bit cold, but it's fine. And then suddenly everything brightens up. It becomes like this. I don't know what's happening. Then it's dark. Then it's night. Then it's dark. And I realize someone is shining on me with a flashlight. But this is not so good. I'm in my sleeping bag. I feel kind of. I don't feel like fighting. I don't feel like doing anything. I feel like sleeping. And I hear voices, Bulgarian, I hear footsteps. I hear them coming closer. I'm thinking to myself, like, if they're bad guys, I'm out here by myself. There's nowhere to run with. It's cold outside. It won't be good. So I just unzip the sleeping bag, I sit up. I'm thinking, if they're bad guys, maybe it's over. I had a good run. I unzip the tent. As he's standing right outside, I'm opening and get this flash of light. My eyes don't see anything. So they take it away. And they ask me, what are you doing? And I'm like, now I'm seeing who they are. They're the police. I'm like, oh. It's the middle of the night in the forest. You're coming to my tent. What did you do? They're like, we're the police. I'm like, yeah, I figured. I can see that. So, what's up? Like, what did I do? I'm sleeping. Trying to, anyway, before you came. Where are you from? I'm like, I'm from Sweden. Yeah. But then they ask me again, what are you doing? And this is a difficult story. I'm just walking, traveling to where? To Palestine. They're like, what? Are you from Palestine? No, I'm from Sweden. Oh, you're going from Palestine to Sweden? Show me your passport. I'm like, no, that's not what I'm doing. I'll show you my passport. They're like, oh, you are from Sweden. What are you doing here? Going to Palestine. Oh, you're Swedish, so no problem. Fine. The world is so unjust and unfair, you know. If you have a Swedish passport, you know, when these guys show up, and they show up a lot. You know what country this is, right? Volvo. We're in Sweden, the first time the police comes. And the police don't stop coming. They come almost every single day. I get into the habit of, you know, taking sneaky pictures of them. You have your phone inside the case, you have your camera here. We just click the button, we don't see it. I try to entertain myself or something because I'm so annoyed. They're coming all the time and they're asking questions. Who are you? What are you doing? Show me all your stuff in all your bags. And that will take 3 hours if you don't know it. And sometimes they leave laughing and sometimes they take forever. There's no system. And it's always difficult to convince them of my story. It's really absurd in Turkey. After a few days, I'm walking. I have 2 friends with me now. They're working with me in Turkey, Palestinian guys. And the car left one is the normal police, full of police. The blue one is the military police, the Jandarma, or Turkish word center. The other one you don't really see is the like secret service something police. There's a lot of them. They're showing up. We're being interviewed by one of the Turkish media. So there's a journalist crew there, there's a camera, there's an interview. They take all of us to the side of the road. And even the journalists are like, who are you? You must be present. We're journalists. And they ask us, so we try to explain the story, but we're laughing because it's not the first time. And then they tell us, like, what flag is that? Like, it's the Palestinian flag. Turkish people really like Palestine a lot, so I was surprised that they didn't know the flag. And then they asked me, like, no, what flag is it? The Palestinian flag. Like, we want to know about that. Like, what? So they asked me to stand and hold the flag like this. That's why we're holding the flag. The police are asking us to do this. So they can take a picture and send it to their headquarters and verify it's the flag. It's really the Palestinian flag. I'm like, or I take my phone, I write Palestine, and I show you. That's it. Really don't want to do that. But it's so absurd. I take my phone and give it to the other journalist, like, please take this picture because what is going on? But then I meet some nice police also. This was probably the one and only time I ever met some. They were treating me to lunch. Can you believe that? I'm walking. I see police. They're shouting at me. Why do they expect the same right harassment as all of them? Who are you? Show me your bag, show me your passport, show me everything. Answer my questions. And I'm like, just go away. But then they say, are you the guy walking? And I'm still like, I'm not still friendly, I guess, because I get annoyed immediately when I see him after meeting him every day. But I say, yeah, of course I'm the guy walking. You see me walking, right? You see me walking. They're like, oh, we saw you on TV, are you hungry? What? No. They say, yeah, come to the station. I'm like, I don't want to come to the station. They're like, yeah, we'll treat you to lunch. I'm like, what? Yeah, we'll treat you to lunch, come, let's go. It's just over here. And I figured, maybe, I'll give them a chance. So I go there, they give me some nice food. And the guy holding a paper with me, he writes a prayer when we're eating. And tells me to take it to the Palestinian people in Turkish, but I had it translated by a friend, saying something like, we support the Palestinian people, we know the struggle and the suffering under the occupation. The Turkish police stand by you, we know that support these guys. I thought that was a really kind thing. So my view of the police brightened up after that. So do you know this girl? If you know this girl?
Oh.
So her name is Benajmin. This picture, she's 16 years old. That's not enough to be in a military court, be sent to jail in Israel. She's now in the military court, she's in handcuffs. Her crime having been stabbed an Israeli soldier. So she was 16 years old when she stabbed an Israeli soldier. The soldier was right outside her house. Her house has been raided over 100 times by soldiers. They have had so much tear gas and stun grenades shot at them. So they started making art out of the empty gas canisters, like putting solid in them and growing flowers, like arranging them in different patterns. The kids are playing with this stuff because there's so much tear gas. The most tear gas place on earth is the Aida refugee camp in Palestine. The most tear gas place on earth. And she gives the soldier a stab an hour after they shoot her 15-year-old cousin in the head with a rubber bullet. But notice when they say rubber bullets, they are steel bullets, but thin rubber layer. So it missed his brain with a few inches and he was lucky to survive. Now I put together a video for you, showing you the stat so you know exactly how it looked like. And then some commentary by an Israeli politician that is in the Knesset right now. The Knesset is the parliament of Israel.
My name is Oren Fada. I'm the youngest member of the Knesset, actually member of the Israeli parliament.
When you saw that video of her slapping the soldier, what went through your mind?
If I was there, she would finish in the hospital. For sure. Nobody could stop me. I will kick her face. If you will act with terror, we have the right to go inside your houses and tell them it's terror.
Slap isn't terrorism.
No, a slap is terrorism. Believe me. A slap is terrorism.
He is a politician in the parliament today making policy decisions. Today, Islam is terrorism. I don't like the word terrorism. Does it even have a meaning anymore? People are saying that politicians in power are saying things like that. It feels like Chomsky said that the word terrorism just means anyone we don't like. So after that stand, the Israeli army comes to their home in the middle of the night, knocks hard on the door, and arrests her, just puts her out of the bed, puts her in a military jeep and drives away. Of course the family doesn't know where she's going. And she's driven up and interrogated many hours every day. But this girl is pretty hardcore. She stays silent, she doesn't say a thing. But you can see in this video that of the interrogation how they threaten to arrest all her friends and her relatives and her family if she doesn't comply and cooperate. And by cooperation, they usually mean to sign a paper in Hebrew, a language most Palestinian children does not understand. And they will tell them that you can go home to your mom, even as young kids as 12 is interrogated like this. Like, we will release you, you can go home and play with your friends. You only sign this paper, but if you don't, you will stay here. And they threaten them with all kinds of ways. We will arrest your mom and your dad and your brother and your sister if you don't comply. Just sign it and everything will be fine. This paper, though, is a confession. It's something they might or might not have done. So you can see in this video, you can imagine yourself 10 years when you're a child, or if you have brothers and sisters. Palestinians are living under martial law, under Israeli military law, a different legal system that Israelis are living under. They're living under civil law. And under martial law, they sentence Palestinians to military courts, which have a conviction rate of over 99%. Of over 99.74 last time I checked. If you go to a military court, you're pretty much convicted. And she was convicted to 8 months in prison. And when she got out, they prevented her from traveling. The first thing she did, she wanted to go to Belgium to speak about her life and her experience, but Israel didn't allow her to travel. Currently, there are 270 children in Israeli prisons. This varies from time to time. Every year, there are thousands of children being processed in the Israeli prison system, being arrested. From the streets or from their homes or from their schools. Do you know what administrative detention means? It means being arrested in prison without a trial with secret evidence of an indefinite time period. 446 Palestinians are jailed like this currently. Of course it's illegal under international law. Of course, everyone has the right to a due legal process. Of course, no normal court system in the world has that kind of conviction. So these are questions of justice. And I thought I would show you this woman. Through the Facebook post, she's shared her views. Like this is a war between two people, who is the enemy, the Palestinian people, and a much worse one, but they are all enemy combatants. Now this also includes the mothers of the martyrs who send them to hell with flowers and kisses. They should follow their sons, nothing would be more just. They should go, as should the physical homes in which they raised the snakes, otherwise mortal snakes will be raised there. She is the justice minister. ambassador of Israel today. And she's the one sharing these kinds of posts on Facebook. She also said that she wants to raise the punishment for incitement online. You believe the irony. It also raises the punishment of throwing a stone for up to 20 years in jail. And she's the current Minister of Justice in Israel. Now, Ahmed Amir got 8 months in prison for Islam. This is Edol Bazaria, an Israeli soldier. He was caught on camera with his gun walking up to a Palestinian man lying wounded on the ground, putting his gun to his head and pulling the trigger. He was caught on camera doing this. So there was a court case raised against him. Now, what happened when the court case was raised against him was that people went out into the streets, not to decry the act of executing a man in cold blood, but to protest against the fact that they were persecuting Buddhists. Thousands of people were protesting against it. They are either bringing him to court, and what has he done? Free the brave and loyal soldier. And he was sentenced to 9 months in prison for execution. For a stand for 8 months. So when you meet Palestinians, know that they are bearing this sort of justice with them all the time. It's absurd. And of course, when you meet people from Gaza, they will have the most horrible stories. Gaza has been invaded 3 times in the last decade. 2008, 2012, 2014. The last time only 4 years ago. We had white phosphorus drop on their schools. Do you know what white phosphorus is? It's like napalm. It burns at 1,472 degrees Fahrenheit. If you get it on your body, it burns straight through you. Now, I won't give you nightmares by showing you the kids that were hit by white phosphorus, because those are scenes from hell. But you can just imagine when they bomb schools with this stuff. That is illegal under international law. Why? Because it has such a wide area of effect. It's not for precision strikes, it doesn't take out a military target, it just burns everything it touches. So there's no point in using it if you know that there's a military facility for a precision strike. They have fighter jets for that, but now they chose to bomb Gaza with white phosphorus. And the Israeli Minister of Defense, Minister of War, says that there are no innocents in Gaza. There are 2 million people living there. Half of them are children. 70% of them are refugees from what happened 70 years ago in Gaza. So now, the biggest demonstrations in the world are happening in Gaza. Since March 30th, every single Friday, people have gone out to protest for their rights to return to where they were driven out from 70 years ago, to protest for their human rights, for the right to electricity. They only have 3-4 hours a day, for the right to have a life. There is no economy there. Israel controls everything that goes in and out, but they can't export, they can't import, they can't even fish, because Israel is restricting their fishing areas. So there is no life. Depression is through the roof, unemployment through the roof, suicide and depression through the roof. So of course people are protesting, but when they do that, they're met with violence, like tear gas and snipers. Every single Friday. And you don't see this in the news, and I don't understand why. These are the biggest demonstrations in the world. And they're talking about every single Friday since March. And the snipers deployed on the fence are shooting everyone that are there. Journalists, disabled people, paramedics. She was only 21. Every day she was on the border treating people who had been shot. Every day in this white coat. First one to come there, last one to leave. But still, she's not with us anymore. because the Israeli snipers, which are on the border, they ask their commander, am I clear to take the shot? They look through the scope, they see this woman. The commander says, yes, they take the shot. I met some of them. When I was in Jordan, the very few people who have a chance of retaining their legs after being shot. Because Israel is not using normal bullets either, they're using explosive bullets that goes into your body and expands. So when you get shot in the leg, normally if you get shot out the leg, you die. Over 180 people now have been shot to death. If you get shot in the leg and have a slight chance of retaining your leg, because it gets infected immediately, and the doctors at the hospital told me that a gunshot like that requires maybe 13, 14 surgeries, unlike the 1 or 2 surgeries for a normal family. Because everything gets destroyed in the leg, all the nerves, all the bones. So they had to remake the leg entirely. This young man, he had been on the border for 5 minutes, and got off the bus. He was in the chaos, people were shouting, the slogans, waving the flags, so he was just looking around and they shot him. The man in the bed, he was taking a selfie when he got shot. By these guys on the borders. Of course, the international community is speaking out against this. Kuwait granted the Security Council resolution condemning the use of excessive force in Gaza by Israel. But the US, of course, vetoed that resolution. The IDF takes responsibility for this. They wrote on the Twitter that yesterday we saw 30,000 people, we arrived prepared and with precise reinforcements. Nothing was carried out uncontrolled, everything was accurate and measured, and we know where every bullet landed. And then after that, the IDF says they sent children or disabled people to the fence so they can say that we hurt them. But they are looking through the scopes of cyber rifles. They are saying that we know where every bullet landed, and children are getting shot, and journalists, and medics. So of course the international community has been speaking out against this occupation, all these crimes, for a long time. It's in very clear language. There is nothing that no one would understand here. Strongly deplores Israel's policies and practices denying the human rights of Palestinians. Deplores Israel's continuing deportation of Palestinians. Strongly deplores the killing of Palestinian students at USF University by Israeli troops. We're at the university right now. Could you imagine the military coming here and start shooting? And then the international community would say, strongly condemn the killing of American students at this university within another country, vetoing that resolution. I mean, it's lifelong. The US has vetoed over 40 UN resolutions condemning these sort of things. There have been over 70 resolutions passed or drafted by the UN, but still we have this situation. So all of this is why I believe that we, as individuals, need to do our own and have to take a stand. Especially you here. Now, I'm not here by coincidence. I chose to come to the US for a reason. The reason being that this is the most powerful country in the world, for better or worse. I believe worse, unfortunately. Under Obama, the US signed the biggest transfer of money in this country's history from one country to another. $38 billion from the US to the Israeli military. That's $3.8 billion a day, a year of your tax money. Translates to $10 million a day. And I've been here for a month now, and I'm seeing a lot of social issues that you have, with homelessness, with poverty, with student debt, with healthcare, all sorts of things. But still you manage to find to give $10 million a day to the Israeli military. That doesn't make sense to me. And no one's going to teach that except you. Israel is the biggest receiver of foreign aid out of all countries in the world from the US. Both parties, if you're not too democratic democracy, are receiving big funding from the Israeli lobby called AIPAC. If you go on YouTube, you will find every president making speeches declaring their unconditional support for Israel. They have a lot of influence over US policy. here in Florida, it's illegal to boycott. It's illegal to engage in boycott of Israeli products in order to put pressure on Israel to stop the human rights violation. That's illegal. Fine. You can go to jail if you do that. And you're supposed to have freedom of speech. Everyone should have that. But not when it comes to this issue. I'm not saying people really speak out against it. Of course, there are some solidarity groups, but this is a huge issue. Just imagine, you're not allowed to talk about it. You're not allowed to boycott. Everyone should have the right to boycott whatever they want. Always. But not here. This is an ongoing process. In many states, this legislation to pass to making boycotting illegal is a process being debated right now. So this really affects me now. And the reason I made this journey is because I believe that we are the people that can make a change also. That we have a lot of power as individuals and as a community to speak up and to take an active position and try to make the world a bit better. Because who else? Are the politicians supposed to solve all our problems for us? Why do we have problems in our world today? We have had politicians throughout the ages. Now, rights are not given. Rights are won. Women didn't have the right to vote before. Why do they have the right to vote now? Did that come about by itself? No. It was because people were organizing, mobilizing, making a demand, going out in the streets, and demanding to be treated as equals, to have the right to vote. In this country, you had segregated cafes. You had places where black people couldn't go. I hope that that's not the case anymore. It's not the case that it was back then, anyhow. But why did that change? You had slavery here before. Why did that change? Things don't change by themselves. And problems don't arise by themselves either. There are a lot of people working actively to undermine progress, to not work with human rights. We need to be as many people, preferably more, working for human rights, against discrimination and sexism, and the human rights violations in Palestine, against the war, the bombing of the people in Yemen, and all the problems we see. If we don't work for it, are we just expecting the problems to go away by themselves? This young boy was only 15 years old. Joshua Wong is his name. When he lives in Hong Kong, and China decides to change the curriculum in Hong Kong, starting to teach nationalism about the Communist Party. And Joshua doesn't like that. He's only 15. But he knows that things don't change by themselves. Now China comes with their pressure trying to change this. If there's no counter pressure, nothing will happen. They will change. Because China has a lot of pressure. So he gets together with his friends. They start an organization. They start to make protests. They start to hand out flyers. They start to organize. And they're all the kids. And they had this idea that they should occupy the square in front of the governmental building in Hong Kong. So they go ahead and do that. And the media picks up on this. I mean, here's these kids like speaking out aloud, even occupying a square. They're so innocent, they're so young, they don't know what they're talking about. Let's go and interview them, let's see what they have to say. And it gets quite big, some media. So the governor feels pressure to talk to them. He would look bad here they are in the lane, trying to make a stand, and he doesn't even have a conversation. Doesn't look good. But he, as the pressure of China, or the pressure of Joshua, so naturally he doesn't really listen to his kids. Because they're not really offering any resistance. But Joshua doesn't stop organizing. And when people see his spirit standing against this with his friends, always being outside and working for it, eventually they join. Because most people felt that injustice, they didn't really want things to change, being imposed upon them by China. But they were too afraid to speak out. Just as I think most of you feel that there is a lot of things that are wrong, but are you speaking up? So eventually, he created the biggest mass movement in Hong Kong's history, just by being diligent, persistent, clear in his vision, and hardworking. Things do not change without hard work. The topics that we are talking about, like the occupation of Palestine, it will require a lot of hard work to go away. And it will require that we all know clearly what is going on. Don't take anything I say as face value. Just go and read the rights reports. Read what Amnesty has to say, Human Rights Watch. Read what Israeli Human Rights Organization. Read what Israeli soldiers themselves have to say about this. We have to raise awareness. We have to be aware of what's happening. So that's what I'm trying to do, going around different schools and universities. We need to know, and once we know, we need to take action. Because action changes things. Not reading news on your smartphone being very angry that there is a lot of injustice and not doing anything. Always action. The world goes with pressure, and you have the power here because the United States seems to put a lot of pressure on any country. I mean, even if I rally the Swedish people to clearly condemn the human rights violations in Palestine or in Western Sahara or wherever. I mean, Sweden, we're 10 million people. We don't have a military leader. They won't listen. They will listen to America. Because you have to have a strong military in the world on pressure. And you're the people living here. And if this is a democracy, then they should listen to you. And it is very serious. Because if you don't, that these kids that are living in a refugee camp right now, they will live their entire lives as refugees. And for what? Do we really want to see these kids grow up without rights, without living in their 1 square kilometer, without not being able to work in over 70 different jobs, just because they're Palestinian refugees, just because they were driven out of their homes by force 70 years ago? It's not their fault. It's not going to change by itself. So on the final day, when I arrived at the border between Jordan and Palestine, because all of Palestine is occupied, I was interrogated by the Israeli soldiers wanting to enter Palestine. So they asked me a million questions. I'm being held for 6 hours with questions. Tell me every single Palestinian you know. Tell me every place you intend to visit in Israel. Tell me what you're doing and what you're really doing. Give me your passwords to your social media and to your computer. Show me all the messages that you have sent to your social media. No. I say no to all of that, and they don't let me enter after walking there for 11 months. This is the Palestinian experience, because as all Palestinians in this room today will tell you, you can't enter Palestine, being Palestinian. It's really, really hard. I met a Palestinian man, they forced him to stand naked for 6 hours during this interrogation, while people coming in and out of the door in the room, just for humiliation. So there are consequences if we speak out. I've received benefits online, of course, since I'm speaking like this. I'm only speaking for human rights, for justice. That's what I care about. And I think we should all care and do more. We can do more. I chose to do this journey because I felt I could do more. I was only experienced studying global studies, working at the Red Cross, living normal life. But I felt this, and I felt that I wanted to do something. There's not really any limits or barriers blocking to do. Not many of us try to really explore the limits of our potential. Because God really knew that he was going to become godly when he was our age. Or Martin Luther King, did he know who he was when he was 20 or 30? Do we know who we are in 10 years from now, or 20 years from now, no matter our age? We don't know how far we can go. It's only up to us to explore that. We can do a lot, and we can do more. No matter how much you're doing today, think about what the next step could be, and how much we can do. There are no rules. You don't have to study, you don't have to work. But you don't get any money if you don't. It doesn't make any money. I've got big without income for over a year. But I make do, because I want to do this. It feels meaningful. If you know about injustice, and now you all know, I hope it feels meaningful for you too. Because if you don't, then the kids, the refugees, But if we don't, then the rest is going to do it. And if we do, then we can change the world, not only in Palestine. If you start becoming active, start speaking out, you can change the world everywhere, to the world of us. Thank you. I'll leave you with this picture if you want to follow what I'm doing.
Please give Benjamin another round of applause. We're going to talk for a really long time, but that was a really, really amazing presentation. Thank you so much. I just want to start off by saying we will be going into our intermission at the moment. This will include dessert, which will be outside of the room, if you'd like to join us for that. We'll also be collecting your questions at the moment for Benjamin to answer, if you have any. And yeah, we will resume in about 20 to 30 minutes after that. So if everyone would like to go and get some dessert, we will be serving that at the moment. Thank you.